Do you feel emotionally connected to your plants? As if in the process of caring for them, they as well are caring for you? What about planty DIYs and thrifting for plant items? If I have your attention, then the Plants by Wade Lee podcast is for you. Join me, plant friends, as we dig deep and experience the magic of plants. We are with grower from the Gardens of Mid-Gard. Kara, how are you doing today, my love?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. We're back to round two. Kara, how are you doing today, my love?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. We're back to round two. We started recording yesterday and you were like, I think a tornado's coming. And then all of a sudden my lights went out and there definitely was a bit of a storm here in Northeast Florida, but we're good to go today. I have so much to ask you about your plant journey. We have a mutual friend, Ashley Strange, who has strange substrates, and I've heard lots about you. And she gleams and gleams and gleams about how beautiful your exotic plants are. So I definitely want to talk to you about how you got started and where did this passion and love for growing come from?
So, I've always been a lover of plants. We always grew a big vegetable garden when I was growing up. So, it started there. I loved picking the tomatoes and just popping them in my mouth. So, when I moved out at about 18, I had some house plants and I still continued my herb and vegetable gardens. And so, it was about 2020 when I really got into the house plant side of things. We bought our first house right before the COVID shut down, and my sister came over and she said, you just have some basic stuff going on in here. She said, I've been importing plants. And she showed me some pictures, and I saw a strawberry shake, and it was gorgeous. And at the time, I was a stay-at-home mom, and a strawberry shake was around $1,000. So I was like, there's no way I can afford that. She said, well, maybe you should try an import order and see how it goes, and then you can sell off, propagations or any extras. And I thought about it and I'm like, it's really risky, but why not? It's shut down. The business is booming. Like people were just ordering plants left and right, filling their whole houses up. Her house was filled to the brim with plants. So I did a big import order. I put some money, I charged some money actually, and ordered a lot of plants. It was about 70 plants. First time importing, and they all came dead. So,
What?
yes,
No way.
yeah, they all came dead. It was like a nasty, rotten mess of a box. It smelled like, rotten spinach.
That, yeah.
So the grower that I had imported from directly, he was willing to replace, but for one reason or another, it took about 3 months. So I got a replacement order. It was fine. And then I grew
My
the
heart,
plant.
I was like, bless.
Yeah, I mean, it was a large investment for me at the time, and so I was terrified. Well, I did eventually get the order replaced. The plants grew and flourished in my Millsbo cabinets, and so I just started propagating. I would just cut them all down and grow as many as I could, and then I would pick the best ones to keep. So it was a little time consuming. Obviously, I'm not just flipping the plants. I have to spend the time to propagate. So the
Yeah.
obsession came with picking the perfect plants. I didn't want the low color ones. I didn't want the ones that were ugly. I don't even like crispy leaves.
Yeah, yeah.
So growing them became a passion. I was obsessed with just growing more of them so that I could get that beautiful plant that I wanted. And then I would sell off the rest. And it was so popular. I was a popular seller at the time I went into business officially, got all of the inspections and certificates, and just basically took off from there. It just kept growing and growing into larger spaces. That's
Yeah.
basically why I'm still doing this now.
That's amazing. And where were you selling back then? Like Facebook?
We were stationed in Louisiana, right outside of New Orleans. So the plant game there was pretty strong. There's Canopy Plant Co. there. And
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
other nice nurseries there and some private growers. So I would do events there. I rarely actually come out. Most of my sales are online just because my personal life is so busy. It works out really well to do online sales. However,
Even now.
yes,
Yeah,
now my life just seems to just go crazy all of the time. You think you have a lull and you make plans to do something, but we have the military. Those plans can change at the drop of a hat. And then two small children, things just come up.
yeah,
So it's easy to manage all of this right here at my own home instead of doing a bunch of outside.
yeah. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But you do some markets though around the area.
Occasionally, I usually don't bring out the really rare stuff unless someone asks me to.
Yeah,
It's a lot of work, so it seems like less work to do an event, but local events, there's alternative stuff that I have to pay for and just the time commitment and the stress on the plants. I personally don't really like bringing a lot of the plants out because, they're going to be in tubs or shuffled around, getting broken and whatnot. So then there's alternate taxes on top of local sales. So
yeah,
it's like I have to reprice and rethink about a lot of things to do events and sales locally.
yeah. And sometimes people come to events or markets and they go past a plant and they're like $300, and it's like,
The
do you
market for that is not
people?
here locally, unfortunately.
Yeah,
People aren't looking to do that, and those people actually seek private. I don't do a lot of marketing. I don't spend a lot of time advertising anything because my time is so limited. I spend all of that time in personal messages. People are like, "Hey, do you have this plant? Do you have this one or this one?" They are looking to spend quite a bit of money. So like the sales just kind of come to me, and then I only take as many as I can handle shipping. So,
yeah.
yeah,
And then you'll find those plants too for people as well.
I will.
Yeah,
Yeah, if I don't have it, I do know someone who does, or where they could possibly get one.
that's so cool. What can people expect at your booth and what you're selling?
That goes into a little bit of my restructure. So every year I restructure the business. I need to have less time involvement in here. And with 1,000 plants, you can imagine that takes a lot of time to grow. And I stopped propagating a lot of stuff that is more common. You won't really find anything that you will see at a big box store. I mainly deal with rare philodendrons. I have some alocasias. Everything is basically variegated. I doubt there's a single non-variegated plant coming, but I'll take you around and show you a little bit of what I've already pulled out.
Okay, great.
So we've got some rare goodies here. We've got a little yellow Birkin, some pink Albo Dark Lord, a variegated
Wow.
sorghum. This is kind of the bougie tray I'm working on. We've got stuff like Goldiana. We do have a big Jose. Lots of little syngoniums, variegated chia pints, Maria, all kinds of syngoniums. I'm still working on pulling out actually what's coming. So everything over here is
Yeah.
coming. We've got some variegated anthuriums, syndapsis, got some oddballs too. Like there's a lot of stuff. Got your monsteras, Epigiganteum albo, Rhaphidophorus. This is a variegated clavigerum, which is a climbing anthurium. All kinds of stuff, really.
So beautiful. They look so healthy and happy.
Yeah, everything in here is growing well until I neglect it. As long as I'm on top of it, everything looks pretty good. Right
Yeah.
now, this whole rack is going to come, so I'm working on pulling more plants that are coming onto this so that I can start packing them up. I also have things like heartleaf albo, which is really popular. I have quite a few of
My
those.
love, could you lift that up a little bit more? I could yeah.
This little plant.
Yeah, the last one. Yeah, beautiful.
Yep, so here's a little marbly one. This is one of my best sellers. So this is one of those plants that I have people constantly DMing me for. So luckily there's some left because some of them are already sold. And then another favorite are these little pink, elbow pink micans. I have quite a few of those that'll be coming.
I'll be getting one of those for
Oh,
sure.
this is a really nice one right here.
Mm.
Love that one.
This is this is a plant con exclusive seeing all these plants.
It is,
This is very
because I normally would
exciting.
never bring this caliber of plants out to an event, but the market will be there. People are looking to find rare plants.
Yes.
So this is a different type of event. Here is my personal caramel marble. Everyone loves that one. Yeah, there's just a good mix of stuff coming. Like I said, I'm still working on pulling the ones that are for sale out and onto this rack.
What is your favorite plant, or maybe even favorite genius?
So it used to be syngoniums. I got started with syngonium. That was my first, fall in love with plant because it was easy. I had a syngonium albo was the first one. It was really rare at the time, hard to find. I grew that one really well, and I stuck with syngoniums until I had collected about 150 different types of them. And then they grew so well and so fast, I had to start downsizing. So
Yeah, yeah.
I still love syngoniums and I still collect them. My problem is that they grow so well and so fast that they take up too much space. So that's why I have so many coming. I have actually cut all of my mother plants down. So if you can see, this whole area here is just rooted nodes. So I'm going to be flooded with syngoniums very soon. They usually sprout in a week or two, and then I have all new crop of plants. I
Wow.
actually haven't cut them in like a year, so there were a lot of nodes. So a lot of syngoniums are coming just because those are my longest held favorite, and I've
Yeah.
collected them for so long. I try not to collect anything that's not unique. I have some unique plants that you just won't find anywhere at all. One of a kind. So I'm working on I was hoping to bring one of these new variegated mutated dark lords that I have. It's the only one in the world that I know of. So I submitted it for IAS registration. I haven't heard back from them yet, so I'm not going to show it or bring it.
Yeah, yeah. That's exciting.
That's where I'm at now. So I'm trying to get rid of all of the plants I don't want to propagate anymore. I still keep them and enjoy them. I'll keep one mother plant, but I won't cut it unless I break it or, it looks ugly and I'm like, okay, time to cut this down. So yeah.
What do you use as far as substrate for all of these variegated plants?
I've cycled through different growing mediums over the years. I started with semi-hydro mixes, sphagnum moss, perlite, stratum, fluval stratum. The only one that I really use now is stratum. I love to root things in it because it just seems to root things super fast. I don't have any issues with it. Some people do have issues. I don't. It's been 5 years using it, so I've kind of mastered it. I still use that for cuttings or anything that has very little or no roots. I use moss in prop boxes mainly, but like I kind of just grab whatever I have at the time. I'm using a lot of tree fern fiber now, especially for anthuriums and to top the pots. That's a little pricey, so I try to reserve that for the more expensive plants. But everything, all 1,000 plants are basically in strange substrate. So about,
Oh, really?
yeah, so I moved to Jacksonville in 2019 and I met Ashley Strange shortly after that. She came to pick up a plant and we hit it off. We were talking in my greenhouse and, talking about things. And I didn't know her that well. I'd still been growing in moss mixes. I said, I really need to repot all of this stuff. The moss is ugly. It's gross. They've been in the moss for probably 2 years. I said, I really need to figure out a different medium, something else. So she's like, well, I've been researching and making my own mix. And she said, I'd really love for you to try it. So I said, you know what? I'll try some of it, see what it's like. What's the worst
Yeah.
that could happen? So she brought it to me and it looked fantastic. Usually the chunky mixes for aeroids are 3 basic ingredients, maybe 4 if you're lucky. And she brought me this and it had all kinds of things in it. She was just rattling off this list of about 20 different things in it. And then she was explaining what they all did and why she was using it in there. So I'm like, okay, whatever, it sounds great. I put one of my oldest plants, it was a big philodendron giganteum blizzard, and it was pretty big. It was already in an 8-inch pot. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw this in there. It's got a lot of roots, couldn't hurt. So I threw it in there and it just took off. It got massive, so big that I'm like, I don't have anywhere to put this now. So I'm like, hey, can I get some more of that substrate? So I started just repotting all kinds of my personal plants into it because they weren't for sale. So I'm like, I'll just test it
Right.
with these. And they just did so well. And it's all in one. I didn't have to use synthetic fertilizer. Nothing rotted. It did dry out pretty fast, but that's normal for me. It's hot. The plants dry out really fast. So I'm just watering constantly. I fell in love with the substrate. I think it was the original bougie mix that she makes. And
Mm.
I'm now several years into just growing in her substrate. So now she's got a full line of products. She's got Thirsty Mix, Prop It. So I am using a lot of those also. I've used I've used all of them now. So every mix that she's made, I've used on plants in this nursery. So you might be able to find 1 or 2 plants that are not in her mix in here out of all
Wow.
of them. Yeah. It's worked fantastic. I absolutely love it. What better than to see the plants that are grown long term in her substrate than having a shared booth? You can get substrate, you can see the plants that are growing in it, what it looks like, and selling them plants previously from New Orleans. So I did a small purge. I had some syngoniums, of course, and some other random plants, and she purchased one on the purge and she came to pick it up. So we actually met at my house in my greenhouse and we just hit it off
Hit it off.
talking about the plants, and then it turned into, she does hair, so of course I need hair. And so yeah, she's just been a friend for since the day that I met her.
I love that.
It didn't seem like it was doing that at the beginning.
Percentage at the top and it keeps going down a little bit. Like it goes from 100% to like 95, 99.
That's it. Downloading. Hello. Why, Lord? 1 second.
To show you this guy here.
Oh.
It just gets bigger and bigger. Um, Yeah, this is one of Ashley's favorites when she comes over. And it's one of my favorites too. I trusted her substrate so much that one of my imports that I did that first year here, I put the plants did really well the first week and they were rooting on their own, which is not like imports usually. Usually they have rotten roots. So I was able to put that plant, which was super tiny, into her substrate right after it came, and it is now this big.
What kind of plant is that?
That is an Epiprimnum giganteum albo, or some people call it white pearl, and it just looked spectacular. I picked it out, and it was the only one at the time. I think I was the second person in the U.S. to have that plant. But that particular plant was just so incredible with its color that I couldn't resist it. So I imported it and grew it, and I've been growing babies from it.
Wow.
It's definitely a favorite here, especially when people come to visit. They're like, "What is that?" I'm like, yeah, that's my pride and joy right there.
And where would you top cut propagate it?
So it was really, it's so, I give it a lot of light because it's very white. It's a pretty strong plant. So it grows with its nodes really close together, kind of like a large form monstera. So the cuts on it are usually really tight. It's been that way for years. It took me forever to be able to cut it at all. So then, of course, I wasn't selling from it for a very, very long time. But now I'm able to cut more the lower color, the lower variegated ones that are more green. They actually have more space to cut, so I'm able to cut them smaller, and then grow more plants. So I don't really cut the mother plant. She actually could be cut, but Ashley has already called dibs on a cutting from that plant. So whenever I feel like cutting it, she's getting the piece of that. But I am bringing lots of her babies. So these are obviously not as big, but there's some of them here. So there will probably be some of those available. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a lot of work to do. I'm sitting here looking at all the plants that I have to move and pack. So yeah, I had to rearrange because I hope to not bring a ton of these back. But I do need my shelving, so it's been a little difficult to figure out where to put the plants that are not coming to PlantCon. So I moved all the propagations. I have all these prop boxes here. I moved those. I might actually have to move them again because now I think I need those shelves for actual plants. So yeah, that's what I'm doing for the next few days.
And where can people find you online?
I do have a website, but I've been, like I said, I get so many messages some weeks that I don't have time to do restocks. They can find me on Facebook. So I do have a business page and I have a personal page. That's usually where people contact me. So following my business page allows you to see when I do restocks on my website, which hasn't been for a while, but they could be coming very soon after PlantCon. And then just finding me, yeah, message me. Like I said, I don't do a lot of advertising just because I don't have the time. So like if you want something, you should probably just message me and ask if I have it.
Both on Facebook and Instagram?
I have Instagram, I have TikTok, I have all of those things. You can message me on any of those. I just don't post a lot of content there, but I am present and I will respond if you message me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, my love. It was so good to talk with you.
Talk to you too.
And I will see you this weekend.